there, thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to the latest in this little series of videos I'm doing. While we're all locked up and hiding away from the COVID virus, I'm putting together a few videos on different aspects of photography, and hopefully you're learning something and being slightly entertained by them. I'm certainly having fun, it's keeping me out of trouble, so everyone's a winner. In this one, I'm going to look at one of the essential things for a portrait photographer to get to grips with, and that's retouching skin. Now this is going to be a very basic retouch, very basic level of retouching that I do. There's much more intricate retouching that we can do that involves stuff like frequency separation, and I'm going to look at that in later videos. But this, as I say, for me is the essential level of retouching that we owe to our clients to make them look as stunning as they really are. So here we have Carwyn. Shot at the studio in natural light. We've got windows behind her. The sunlight's flooding through these big windows here, hitting the side of her hair, giving this gorgeous blowout catch light around the hair, and it's bouncing into a V-flat, a big white polystyrene board that's balanced behind me. That's putting the light back into her face and giving these gorgeous catch lights in her eyes. And as we look around, we see there's a few little bits and pieces on her skin that we might want to retouch. And what I'd advise you to do is look at your image and think, what is it that takes away my eye from looking deep and meaningfully into hers? And it's stuff like, for me, I'm looking at these little areas of discoloration under her eyes here. I'm looking at this little area of discoloration here, the little freckles around the nose, around here on the chin, around this little line here. I quite like that stray hair, I'm going to keep that in. I'm looking at the freckle on the shoulder and her armpit there, just going to get rid of those. And maybe just clean up the skin around her hands and arm a little bit. Just where there's a few different areas of discoloration and a few marks. Also just around the hairline. This is a beauty shot and I'm just going to clean up those freckles and some of the little bits around the hairline itself. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Well, Photoshop provides some brilliant tools and they're all embedded here within the J tools. I'll say the J tools because if you look, it says spot healing brush and in brackets J. So if you want the keyboard shortcut to access those tools, just press J. If you press Ctrl J, oops, you don't want to press Ctrl J at all. If you press Shift and J, you'll cycle through all the tools that are on that key shortcut. If we click here, you'll see eventually. No, it's not going to do it. But there's 5 tools actually attached to the spot healing brush, the patch tool, and the, what's that one, content aware move tool, there's the red eye removal tool, and the spot healing brush. So I'm going to start with patch tool because that's my go-to skin clearing up tool. And basically what you do is you draw a circle around the area that you want to retouch, drag it onto a clean area of skin and let go. And it's as simple as that. And all I'm going to do is just move around here and just keep clicking and dragging. And as you can see, we're starting to really clean up these little, I hesitate to use the word imperfections, they're all part of Carrie and it's part of what makes her look absolutely fantastic when she walks into the studio. But for a beauty shot like this, they're distractions. They're distractions from the thing that I want to be the focus, i.e. her eyes, and so I'm just going to go in and clean these areas up so that her eyes stand out all the better. Now I said that this area of discoloration was one feature I wanted to remove, so I'm just going to go right up into the corner of her eye there, loop around there, and let's just try and do that in one hit. Yep, that's done quite a nice job there. And let's just go in there, remove those colour changes, and so you see I'm just hunting around. I'm not doing it to a particular pattern, I'll zigzag around. I'll come back to these little baby hairs here, I want to do something about those. But I'm zigzagging around because I'm really just doing things as my eye catches them. You can have a plan for this and you can do it very systematically. I prefer to do it this more haphazard way that I think leads to a much more natural retouch in the end. Let's just get rid of those little spots. Just that little line there under her chin. That's lovely. Coming down the neck, sometimes people will get little lines around their neck. We can retouch those. I mentioned the freckle here. When you work with somebody over time, you'll get to know exactly the areas that you're going to retouch, and you'll revisit them time and time again, and it gets very systematic very quickly. Kerry works outside with horses for a lot of the time, so she's got quite a tan and a few scuff marks and bumps and bruises when she comes on shoot, so just got to be aware and look around and check what's changed since the last time you shot with somebody, but always looking for all those little features that are just going to, say, distract from the main beauty of your image. So that's the patch tool used. It's a very quick tool. It can have its issues. If you're not careful, you can introduce really smooth areas of skin. Let me try and do that for you. Here you see some texture on a skin tone. If I drag that up here from a dark area to a very light one and just release, you see it all goes just a little bit too smooth, a little bit strange. So I'm just going to undo that, Control Z, Control Z. And if I wanted to retouch that, I'll just drag it down to a similar area of colour tonality. You're looking for similar areas. You don't really want to be dragging from a light area to a very dark one, or a dark one to a very light one. Try and keep it all looking fairly consistent. And avoid repeating patterns as well. If I was to keep dragging onto the same area and the same area and the same area, you'd get repeating patterns coming down here, much as you do when you're clone stamping, and it's something just to be aware of and avoid doing. Now, I said I was going to come back to these hairs. These are nice straight lines really, so if I come into here, I'm going to choose the spot healing brush using content aware refilling. I'm just making the brush a little bit smaller using the square brackets on my keyboard. Then I'm just going to draw along just into the hairline there, and you'll see it keeps a hairline but takes away that hair. It's done a good job. Just clean that bit up, and likewise with that hair, and I might do the same just with that line under her eye there. So there's no right or wrong to this. You'll find the one that you feel best with, and that's the biggest advice I can give you for retouching, is get a feeling for it. It's not a mathematical process strictly, it's an artistic process. It's a process of feeling your way into the image. Now, hairlines can cause various problems because they can be quite straggly sometimes, little baby hairs growing into the forehead area, and so to clean those up I use the clone stamp tool, S, keyboard shortcut, reducing the opacity to about 20% and making sure that I've got current and below as my sampling area, because I've got two layers now where I just created that one accidentally when I was messing about with J key. I've kept it, it's okay, it's all good. And I'm going to use the clone stamp, and I'm going to clone from the lighter good area of skin here. So press Alt down, that brings up the targeting tool, sample from there, and just draw in to this area around the hairline. You see, I'm only applying a 20% level of paint here, and that just really cleans up the hairline without looking too smooth and too perfect. I don't want people to look at my retouches and go, wow, you've made a plastic Barbie. I always want people to look authentic, to look real, but to look like the best version of themselves they can possibly present through my image. So that's cleaning up that quite nicely. Just come out by double pressing on the hand key. We can check our progress and make sure everything's good. Okay, I'm going to squish those two layers together, Control Shift E. A lot of people say, why don't you work on different layers? Well, I don't want to, I don't need to. If I don't make a mistake, then I'm not going to need all the different layers, and it just clogs up your computer and produces massive files. So that's my rationale on that. I believe in doing it as I go, checking what I've done, and if I don't like it, I'll correct it then, but I'm happy to squish together. Just seeing here, it's a little line in the eye, around the nose. I'm just going to patch that, just drag that there, just drag that there, and now we've got something more like it. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is a little bit of dodging and burning. Remember, we've talked about print shaping before, and dodging and burning is one of my favourite tools for doing this. And to do that, I'm going to come in here and create a new layer. So layer, new layer. And if I give it a blend mode of soft light, it will then guess what I want to do. I produce a neutral grey layer, and it says fill with soft light neutral grey. Yes please, I'll tick that. OK that. And now I've got this grey layer above my picture, and what I can do is paint on there with black and white. Now, I could use the dodge and burn tool as well. Fine, if that's what you prefer doing, use those. This is how I like to do my dodging and burning, because it's very non-invasive and it can produce some great results. So I'm going to get my brush. Let's go to an opacity, I'll say 10% first of all, and using white as my foreground colour, so I'm painting white with a very soft brush, 0% hardness. I'm literally going to paint white onto my image, just at that 10% opacity. I'm going to do into the eyes there, you can see that. Make my brush even smaller. Use X to swap to black. Just go around the edge of the iris there. Going to come out a little bit wider now on the brush, still on black because I want to make things a bit darker. And let's go around the eye here and really accentuate that makeup and really accentuate the mascara and bits and pieces that we've got going on around the eyes. That's looking good. Whatever you do on one eye, well, make sure you do it on the other. So let's come in here. I'm going to go above the eye, and really I'm following the natural flow of light, and you see there's a lighter area here, so let's lighten that even more. Just really accentuate the flow of light around the face. Make the brush a bit broader. Just follow the sweep of the nose here and make that nose feel a bit sharper. We're going to paint in the Rembrandt V's under the eyes, just like so. 10% is possibly a bit more than I'd normally do. Usually I'd probably do this about 2%, 5% and build up the effect. But for ease and so you can actually see what I'm doing, hopefully, I'm doing it with these larger settings. And then let's go back to black and put some lip liner just to really accentuate the shape of the lips. That's looking good. A little bit of dark under there. I'm really just going to drop the opacity down a little bit now and paint in just a little bit more darkness around the cheeks. And again, just going to emphasise the sides of the nose there. And you can keep going with this. If I was doing this as a full nude, then I would go all over the body, brush in all the musculature, follow all the lines of musculature on the body, and make sure that they were looking ripped, because when you paint white, it makes stuff more prominent. When you paint black on the sides, it makes it more of a ridge. And so you can really sculpt somebody's body with this sort of look. Just come out wider. This hand's perhaps a little bit bright, and so I'm going to use black as my foreground colour. Go to my brush tool again and just keeping the whole brush nice and big. I'm just going to brush a little bit of black just over the hand, just over this area here, and that should just darken down the whole area and provide a little bit of subtle vignetting to the image, like so. Okay. If I Alt and click on the eyeball next to my grey layer now, it will leave that as the only layer turned on. So hold Alt down, click on the eyeball, and that's what I've drawn in. Okay. If I Alt click again, it'll bring back the background layer. And if I turn that layer on and off, you can see how it's sculpted Carrie's face. Put more 3 dimensions into there than are in the original image. Now I'm out a little bit wider. I'm just going to swap back to white, and I'm just going to put a bit more definition to her hair, following the highlights in her hair here, and painting white on the highlights, and then swap to black and put some darkness into the shadows there. And it's very subtle, the effect you're having, but you'll see that you can produce some great effects. And if the more you do this, the more your clients are going to look at it and go, wow. They won't know why they're going wow, but they'll be wowed. Okay, we're good to go. So I'm going to Control Shift and E, Command Shift E, squish that all together. And going back to one of the first tutorials that I made a movie about, when we looked at levels, let's go into the levels adjustment now and bring the black point up to meet the blackest of blacks, which gives it a nice bit of extra edge there. The whites here are represented by this area, and that's that big spike here. So I can go perhaps a little bit further than that because they're not going to change. They're so pure white, really. They're not going to change. Just put a little bit more brightness in there, and maybe just play with the mid-tone. Okay, that's looking good to me. Let's squish that all together once more. Let's go to our history, take a snapshot, and then we can compare what we've done. That's where we started. That's where we finished. I hope any client would look at this image now and go, wow, I really like that of myself. Haven't you done a good job on it? They're not going to think, wow, you've created a monster, you've created a plastic Barbie. They're going to look at it and think, that's a really nice picture of me. Okay, that's the tutorial over. Have a play with the techniques. If you get some nice results, feel free to send them to me and I'll be happy to post them on here and discuss them with you. If you've enjoyed this video, then please feel free to share it, share the links. I had some great feedback to the first ones I've done. Thank you so much to everybody who's taken time out to comment. It really does mean a lot. And if there's anything you'd like to see covered in future editions, then get in touch. I hope to keep this going, not just through lockdown, but as we get back into working at ARC Studios in Birmingham, then we'll keep producing little videos to hopefully help you with your photography, give you ideas, give you inspirations, and hopefully one day we'll see you in Birmingham. Thanks so much for tuning in to this broadcast. Hope you like it. Over and out. Love and light. See ya. Bye.